Sometimes we decode the show. Hidden Easter eggs, lines to know. Three friends laughing, munching snacks. Lois and Clark were always coming back. Ooh, ooh. Dial it up like the modem screams. Superpowers and love on a silver screen. Blurry pixels, but the story's clear. Superman's back, and we're all here.
I'm Molly.
I'm Julie.
And I'm Jen.
And welcome to Folks Forever, a Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman rewatch podcast.
We're three fans who've been loving LNC since 1993.
Each week, we'll recap one episode and talk about at least one LNC-related topic.
If you would like to learn more about who we are, how we became folks, or how we became friends, check out our intro episode. Today, we're going to be discussing Season 1, Episode 2, Neverending Battle. You'll find this as Episode 3 on the DVDs and streaming, but chronologically, it's Episode 2. We'll also be talking about how Lois and Clark became a TV show in the first place. So, how are y'all doing tonight?
Doing good.
Jen?
I'm okay. I'm a little tired, but I'm good. I'm excited to talk about the show and catch up and see what you guys have been up to.
What time is it for you, Julie, on this Saturday
It's 11
night?
o'clock.
It's
11
gosh.
o'clock.
PM.
It's my bedtime.
Oh my goodness. It's only 8 here, so I feel like 8 o'clock is my bedtime. I don't know how you're upright.
I'll survive.
Okay, good.
I'll be all right. I'm having a nice long 4-day weekend since, I took a few days off for my birthday because I don't work on my birthday. So
That's right. Happy birthday.
Yay. I did nothing and it was great.
No party hats for the dogs.
No, not this time. Nope.
Besides your Lois and Clark rewatching, have you guys watched any other good shows lately, or you have anything to recommend?
I have the only show that I've been watching lately is I finally caught up with The Pit, which is the Noah Wiley ER kind of show that's on HBO Max, and I'm all caught up now. But it's very good. I would highly recommend it if you like hospital drama.
Okay. Depends on how much like actual hospital stuff there is. I don't know, but
It's all hospital. Molly's gonna dip.
It can depend.
The only thing I've been really watching that's new is The Good American Family, about that little girl who they don't think is a little girl. And then I'd recommend it. It's pretty good. It's weird. I will say I just finished a movie from like the 70s. Totally not a new movie. Just finished it like 10 minutes ago, called Beware the Blob. Do not recommend it. It was absolutely horrible. And I like the Blob movies. Like, I'm a weirdo. I like the old, like, retro Blob movies. This one?
Yeah.
No, definitely not. It was horrible.
Well,
That's a non-recommend.
I've been working my way through. It's not the longest show, but it's from about 2013, 14, somewhere around there. It's the Sherlock from England with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. And the first season was really great. It was like Sherlock Holmes, whodunit. Second season got a little weird, and it's not as cozy as it was when I first started watching it. So
it's turned.
It's lost its initial vibe, which I'm sure for
Okay.
some people keeps them interested. But for me, I'm like, no, I liked it how it was in season 1. So that's okay.
Yeah. Lois and Clark changed
That
from
is
season 1 to season
true.
4. So yeah.
We'll talk about that as we move through the seasons, definitely.
What the hell is that? Is that a bird? Is it a plane? No, just a guy in a pair of tights and a cape.
Before we dive into episode 2, we wanted to tell you a bit about how Lois and Clark became a TV show in the first place. Most of this information comes from a September 1993 article titled The Lois and Clark Expedition, a TV Voyage from Proposal to Primetime by Mike Wing from a publication called IE. Superman was created back in 1938, as was Lois Lane, and they appeared in numerous comics as well as TV, radio, and movies. By the late 1980s, we'd recently had 4 feature films, 5 if you count Supergirl, as well as the syndicated Superboy and the animated Super Friends. In 1989, Warner Brothers acquired Lorimar Television, and the head of Lorimar at the time, Leslie Moonves, was looking for some Warner properties that might make some good television. At the same time, over at DC Comics, the president, Jeanette Kahn, and Superman group editor, Mike Carlin, got together with an idea to create a show titled Lois Lane's Daily Planet. Lorimar and DC came together and tried to drum up some interest around town, but the series sat in development until 1991. That year, Jeanette Kahn and Tony Jonas, an exec at Lorimar, went to ABC to pitch a couple of ideas for DC-related shows, at which point Kahn brought up the fact that, hey, Superman's still an available property. They connected with Gary Levine, Drama Development Vice President at ABC, about doing a show about Superman, or rather doing a show with Superman but a focus on Lois Lane. Gary Levine was into it, so Nunez, head of Lorimar, put a pitch together and presented it to both ABC and CBS. Of course, as we know, it's ABC that took the deal. They agreed to finance a 2-hour premiere plus 6 additional episodes. So Tony Jonas called up Deborah Joy Levine, an in-house writer at Lorimar. Jonas said in 1993, "We chose Deborah because we knew she could write real relationships and reality-based humor." In order to further prepare for her new task, Deborah Joy read over 250 Superman comic books. By September of 1992, she had finished a writer's draft, at which point she came up with the title, Lois and Clark. She said, "That really helped me. It crystallized the central fact that this was a relationship series, a moonlighting where Bruce Willis can fly." The script went through a few drafts and changes before it was presented to ABC in December of 1992. ABC responded agreeably, and the project went forward. David Jacobs and Bob Butler were brought in to produce, with Butler directing the pilot. By late February and early March, they had their cast. They rehearsed for 2 weeks prior to filming, and filming of the pilot began on March 22, 1993. 2 months later, at an event in which the ABC president showed off the network's fall TV lineup, it was announced that Lois and Clark would be on the Sunday night schedule. Audiences were then shown an 18-minute version of the pilot, a kind of trailer, which received much applause. The network then agreed to a 13-episode commitment. Beginning in July, the show continued to film on the WB lot, Stage 14. At that time, each episode took about 12 to 14-hour days to shoot. Editing and post-production for each episode could take about 3 weeks. The episodes were all shot on 35mm film, then transferred to videotape. Some of the effects were planned using computers, but in those early days, most of the effects had to be practical. The episode that we're talking about today, Neverending Battle, was the second episode they shot. I've heard different reasons why it was aired out of sequence. One is that it had so many special effects that they needed additional time to work on it. But I also found an episode guide from the Metropolis Club, one of the leading fan clubs from back in the day, where they state that Bryce Zabel, LNC's supervising producer and the writer of our next episode, Strange Visitor, said back then that the 2 episodes, Neverending Battle and Strange Visitor, were swapped because both the network and Lois and Clark's producers considered Strange Visitor to be the stronger of the 2 episodes, so they wanted that to follow the pilot. No matter why the switcheroo happened, though, it did, and it has continued to confuse folks for the past 30-odd years. But trust us, the one we're talking about today, Neverending Battle, is episode 2. Neverending Battle first aired on October 3rd, 1993. Just to paint you a picture of the time period. In movie theaters, we had Malice with Nicole Kidman, The Good Son with Macaulay Culkin and Elijah Wood, and Cool Runnings starring Dougie Doug and John Candy. Disney's Aladdin had just been released on VHS for the first time a few days prior. And if you were a kid or teen watching TV, there was plenty to choose from. Top animated shows at the time included Goof Troop, Batman the Animated Series, Tiny Toons, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, and of course The Simpsons. And live-action favorites included The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Blossom, Full House, Getting By, Step by Step, Beverly Hills 90210, Martin, Home Improvement, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, and brand new on the block, The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Oh, Lord.
I know we all watched Full House. Do you guys have special attachments to any of those that I mentioned?
Tailspin. Tailspin's great.
Ooh.
Yeah, I went to a taping of Hanging with Mr. Cooper, and I got to talk to Mark Curry and what's the little girl's name that was on the Cosby show
Raven?
that was now? Yeah, I can relate to that show.
I watched Step by Step.
Oh. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I
was
watched a
part
little
of
bit of
TGF.
all of it. Yeah, Step by Step.
I didn't really watch Tiny Toons. I remember I still have the lyrics to that memorized. It's forever in my brain.
I loved watching John Candy movies, like Summer Rental, Uncle Buck, Cool Runnings,
Yeah.
obviously,
Uncle
was in that
Buck.
list.
Oh,
Uncle Buck
yeah,
was
Cool Runnings
hilarious.
was so good.
In a few minutes, we'll get into a more detailed discussion of Neverending Battle. But first, we'll be giving our very own summaries in 16 words or less. And we'll start with Jen.
Okay, my summary is Clark buys a dumpy apartment and Lex introduces the phrase faster than a speeding bullet.
Nice.
My summary is Lex Luthor likes pogo sticks, watching hawks kill pigeons, and challenging Superman's abilities and vulnerabilities.
That is
That's
so
a good one.
good.
That's a good one.
Mine is Lois is obsessed with Superman. Clark gets an apartment, and Superman goes to Lex's place again.
Come on.
What is
I know.
going on?
I was thinking about that. I'm like, oh, there he goes again. He's going back to his house.
Need to think about this a little bit before you do it.
Yeah, I have a whole thing about that. And Lex too. I don't think Lex has the most intelligent actions in this episode either.
No, not at all.
So
Yeah.
All right. Every LNC episode had a title. Some of the titles will be a play on words or a reference to an old movie or song. Neverending Battle was part of the opening spiel from the 1950s Adventures of Superman TV series. You probably know at least part of it. Superman, disguised as Clark Kent,
mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, justice.
It's significant as a title here because not only are Lex Luthor and Superman going to be in a kind of war with each other for almost the rest of the series, but Clark is going to be fighting a battle within himself. But more on that later.
Has anyone watched the 50s Adventures with Superman series?
No.
I've only seen a few of them. Like I watched Panic in the Sky basically because they remade it for Lois and Clark, but I think I've seen maybe 3 episodes.
No, I saw the animated one from like the 40s, the one they used to do in theaters like shorts. I've seen that one, but no, I've never watched the 1950s one, which I should.
Guest stars for this episode are Elizabeth Barondes, who plays Lucy. She's best known for the movie Oscar, 3 episodes of ER playing Heather, and the movie Natural Selection. Also, Larry Linville plays Grover Cleveland. He is known for MASH, the TV series, Paper Dolls, and Mannix. Also, Roy Brocksmith played Floyd the landlord. He was big into theater, but he also appeared on several episodes of 321 Contact, which I kind of remember, and on an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. Miguel A. Nunez Jr. played Jules. He is an actor and writer who was in The Family Business, Tour of Duty, The Return of the Living Dead, Life, and in the 2002 film Scooby-Doo. And Molly, what else was he in?
Tarzan on the WB. Woohoo!
Yay! Tony J played Nigel St. John. He was well known for doing voiceover work in movies such as The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Reboot, Beauty and the Beast, The Jungle Book 2, X-Men, and he was considered to portray Obi-Wan in Star Wars before he was turned down.
Aww.
Brent Jennings played Inspector Henderson, which might be important to note. This is a new guy. In the pilot, he was played by a different guy named Mel Winkler. Brent Jennings was known for Lodge 49, Insecure, and All-American. And last but not least, Shaun Toub played Asabi. He was known for Super Piercer, Homeland, as well as Little America, Scandal, Grimm, Seinfeld, The Sopranos, Castle, NCIS, Chuck, Lost, Charmed, ER, Just Shoot Me, I Could Keep Going, Jag, Married with Children, and various movies for made for television. So there you go.
Can I add one as well, Jen?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I was looking at the lady that plays Monique is named Mary Crosby, and she's the daughter of Bing Crosby, and she's the aunt of Denise Crosby, who later plays Gretchen Kelly on Lois and Clark. And even though she's her aunt, she's 2 years younger than Denise, which is one of those wacky situations. But I was thinking this is one of several actors who are related to other actors who appeared on Lois and Clark. So we have like
cool.
these two, and then later on we're going to have other pairs, and I think it'll be cool to keep track of that. Do either of you have any memories of your first time watching this episode? Let's start with Jen.
I'm going to keep it real simple. I have zero memories of this one. My memory is horrible, but I remember nothing.
I don't have any like really big memories or like specific things from this episode. Just, I think, a little bit confusion over the continuity issues since they were played out of order, but that's about it. That's all that I can really remember.
Well, I didn't see this episode until very late, probably spring or summer of 1996, when a fellow folk sent me a tape of it. So this is actually one of the last episodes I saw from season 1. And I just remember not particularly liking or disliking it, but I was just happy to have finally seen it. All right, let's get into this episode. Our episode begins in the newsroom of the Daily Planet. It's at least a day since the events in the pilot, probably not much more than that because they're all wearing different clothes. And more importantly, or most importantly, Clark's hair is just a little bit shorter and we like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, very much.
Lois Clark, Jimmy, and Kat are gathered around an editorial cartoonist who is drawing Superman based off of Lois's description. We then are shown the drawing in which Superman looks angry and ridiculous. Lois is trying, without much success, to convey the look of Superman's eyes to this guy. When Kat chimes in that Superman should, or perhaps did in real life, have bedroom eyes, Kat then goes on to say that she would like to test drive Superman to find out if he's an import or domestic. Lois looks annoyed. Clark looks half terrified. We learn that the photos Jimmy took of Superman on the day Superman flew into the Daily Planet newsroom are at the lab, and that the lab is backed up, hence the need for us to have a drawing of Superman. And Perry's in a tizzy because he wants to be able to publish a picture of Superman, especially since Superman literally flew into his newsroom. I would like to point out for people who don't remember what it was like in 1993, it's actually pretty amazing that Jimmy got pictures at all, because in 93, if you were not a photographer or a tourist on vacation, you probably didn't have a camera in your hands at the ready for random dudes to fly in through the window. Plus, you had to make sure you had film in it, enough film. You had to make sure your flash was working, the battery. I mean, it's Jimmy, well done.
It was a whole thing.
While all this is going on, we see Clark super noticing a bunch of minor accidents that are about to occur around the room. A ladder tipping over, a coffee pot falling on someone. So Clark zooms around at super speed, corrects the potential perils, and manages to grab a donut and get back to Lois's side before he is even missed.
Clark eating donuts, it's starting.
Lois says some rude things about Clark, comparing him to Superman in the worst way.
What we've got here is an example of human evolution, before and after. Clark is the before, Superman is the after.
Then, as she glances at Clark, who's stuffing a donut into his mouth, make that way, way after. And then we cut to our opening theme.
And so this is the first time we actually get the opening theme, right? With credits. Because the first one, it was just the still S and then the names on the screen. But this time we actually get the opening sequence that we get so used to.
Even in the original broadcast of the pilot, it didn't have the credit sequence. So
yeah, it just had a random S that wasn't even, the Superman S that we know. It was just a generic one.
I like how the opening song has scenes from all the way up through episode 6. You have some of Teri singing her heart out in that episode. So
I always loved when they would release the new intros, because then you would kind of get a little preview of what was to come. I remember in some seasons, you'd be like, when are they going to air this episode? When does this happen? Like, this looks like a cute scene. I can't wait.
Agreed. Lex is on his balcony watching some little birds through binoculars. A bird of prey swoops down, takes out the little birds, feathers are flying, and Lex smiles. Asabi, remember our snake wrangler from the pilot, comes in, as do 2 matching outfit-wearing Japanese women who are carrying the most 1990s-looking pogo stick you ever did see. They hand the pogo stick to Lex, and he gives them each a flower, and off they scamper, never to be seen again.
And the pogo stick never to be talked about.
Like, so random.
Why?
There is a lot of randomness in this episode.
He just likes thrills, and he wants to jump on a pogo stick on the tallest building in Metropolis. Who knows?
And were the ladies using it? Is that why they bring it to him? Like, thanks for letting me use it? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't want to know.
Surprised. So I don't know.
Lex has multiple newspapers in front of him, and they're all about Superman. Lex is visibly annoyed. He asks Subby for his calendar, and upon glancing at it, he learns that Lois Lane canceled lunch. So Lex dials Lois's number and gets her message machine.
Hi, you've reached the desk of Lois Lane. Leave a message at the tone, but don't expect to call back unless it's about Superman. Have a great day.
I did have this as my voicemail for my college dorm room.
I seem to remember that detail. I was like, somebody has this. Okay, it was you. Okay.
Yep, that was me.
Just as Lex is pondering this message, we see the bird, which I heard is a red-tailed hawk. I was like, is that a falcon, a hawk? That bird from earlier swoops down and lands on a perch. And we find out this is Lex's bird, and he's going out and menacing other innocent birds, which tracks. Back at the planet, the Superman photos have been developed finally, but they're not very sharp, and Perry isn't happy. He's running a staff meeting in which he tells everyone that they should all be trying to get a Superman story. Lois wrote one initially after the space station story, I'm assuming, but they haven't had a follow-up. Lois is miffed that Perry is allowing anyone to try and get the Superman story, and at one point, she jumps up and cries, "But he's mine!" Next to her, Clark's eyes get very wide. Perry's like, nah, this is too big. Superman's fair game. Jimmy's excited and ready to roll, but the first thing Perry asks of him is to go to Lucille's and get him donuts. Sadly, off Jimmy goes. Perry takes a phone call, and while he's busy, Lois says almost to herself, "I'll find him," meaning Superman. And Clark's reply is, what if he doesn't want to be found? What if all this frenzy isn't what this guy expected? Lois says Superman has no reason to hide from her. Kat hears this and snidely asks if Lois and Superman joined the old Zero Gravity Club on the space station, which we were talking about in the last episode, wondering if Lois did go up to space or...
Yeah, like, what happened to her all night long?
Kat seems to think they got up to something, but we know no. Mm-hmm. We know better. Perry gets off the phone and puts out another command to get me Superman. So everyone's going off in different directions. Clark asks Lois, so where do we start? And she tells him there is no we. She's working alone. A little while later at his desk, Clark gets a phone call and says, really? He's there now? Lois overhears and thinks this has something to do with Superman. So she listens in and hears the address where Clark is headed. Keep a note on that. We cut to a very dingy looking dwelling and see a landlord giving Clark a tour of an apartment. There are cobwebs everywhere. The kitchen cabinets are falling off their hinges, and the kitchen sink is giving out brown water. Still, says the landlord, it's the quietest building in Metropolis. He says this as we can totally hear a car alarm going off.
I love the windows in the apartment. It reminds me of the Friends window in that Rachel and Monica's apartment. It must have been a big thing back then, but I've always loved the windows in Clark's apartment.
Yeah. And those were both filmed on Warner Brothers. I wonder.
I've had that question before. I wondered if they like took inspiration or if they used, did they film at the same time? Because I feel like they were in production. Maybe they reused Lois and Clark. No, because they would have been filming at the same time, right?
Yeah. They're just
similar.
They just had a vibe over there.
Yeah.
Would you have gotten an apartment that had water that was like black? That was nasty.
No. Whoa. However, if you have superpowers and you know I can fix this up in like 30 seconds and it will have nice running water and all of the things. Yes. Normal person, no.
Clark and the landlord agree on the exorbitant for 1993 rent price of $900 a month, which you can't get anything for that in Portland now. Well, actually you can. You can get a loft with no bathroom. You share a bathroom with your neighbors. I have seen that, but other than that.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy. Clark goes to blow some dust off his hand and accidentally blows the front door shut, but a second later, Lois throws open the doors and comes stumbling in going, where is he? Clark's like, who? Lois says, where am I? Clark says, my new apartment. Lois takes one look around, makes a face and a kind of derisive sound, and gets the heck out of there. No Superman for her. Little does she know. We cut to a set of space-age looking rooms where three people, 2 men and a woman, are seated. Lex is there too, and behind him, a ticker sign reads, Know Thy Enemy. Lex asks the three what they all know about Superman. He wonders, how high can Superman jump? Like, is he able to leap tall buildings in a single bound? And is he more powerful than oh, let's say an avalanche or a locomotive. The other three are like, he's strong. Lex concludes
He
that
can
they
really
know...
jump for a white guy.
Yes, indeed. Lex concludes that they know very little, so he announces, I've designed a series of tests for Superman. The woman, Monique, offers to cut to the chase and just shoot Superman and be done with it. Lex brings up Sun Tzu, which is supposed to be Sun Tzu, but we'll give Lex a pass, the art of war, and tells the three that he wants to try things his way. Meanwhile, at the Daily Planet, Lois is listening to a police scanner and learns that there's a jumper at the Lexer Hotel. She says to herself, remembering a line from Perry earlier, what would draw Superman out? She gets up and heads towards this hotel. Clark hears it too, gets up, and we see that he's carrying a duffel bag. He heads to what I've always assumed is the Daily Planet's men's restroom, but it is hella creepy. I mean, they can do better, I would think. The sinks are dirty. The whole vibe is ick. Clearly, Rahalia called in sick all
Rahalia.
week.
Yeah, Rahalia is not doing very well.
Also, the restroom door has a window. What is...
I didn't notice that.
I didn't either.
Oh, wow.
The worst restroom ever.
Especially the men's restroom. Like, I mean, I didn't see urinals, but I would think that would just be a no. Like, don't do that.
A man with a briefcase comes in needing to use the restroom, but apparently the first stall is out of order, and the second one, as we are about to learn, is occupied by Clark, trying to change into his blue suit. The endeavor is not going well. Clark ends up putting an elbow through the stall door. The man says, take your time, and gets the hell out of there. What are your thoughts on this little scene?
What if this guy put the pieces together? Like, all of a sudden there's this strong man who can fly, and then happens in the bathroom that some guy's elbow goes through the thing, and it's a blue elbow. Like,
and
where's the investigation?
And they see the boots.
Yeah.
Like, this guy clearly works at the planet, so...
But he's not very good at his job.
He must be terrible.
Yeah, to me, this scene's a little goofy, kind of like a second cousin to the closet scene from the pilot. But, we also need to know that Clark is struggling. I just kind of wish it had been done a little differently.
He's trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
He doesn't have his spin thing down yet.
He could be practicing that at home. In front of the Lexer Hotel, a cab pulls up and Lois gets out. A crowd is gathered, and across the way we see a man on top of a building waving an arm. It's one of the guys from Lex's Soon Soon meeting earlier. An emergency worker / psychiatrist is trying to talk this guy down from the ledge, but the man is cracking jokes. Superman flies down and says, you don't really want to do this. The man cheerfully agrees, and off to safety they go. Then we see the other two people from earlier. The woman is standing on a different ledge, and the older man is standing below her, holding her ankle with one hand and a cell phone in the other. Lex is on the line with him, and Lex is watching everything through an elaborate video spy system kind of thing. And of course, this older guy is Nigel St. John. He's going to be in a lot more episodes. He works for Lex in some capacity for most of season 1. Just bear that in mind. Nigel nudges the woman, who is terrified, by the way, off the building. She screams. Superman hears it, starts flying toward her, and Lex starts timing Superman. It takes 2-point-something seconds for Superman to get from one building to the other. Lex is impressed and says, faster than a speeding bullet. And if anyone's playing Superman cliche bingo during this episode, you're probably doing very well. Lois takes a cab to the scene of the second Superman rescue, and by the time she gets there, Clark is in the crowd claiming he saw the whole thing go down. Lois is clearly ticked, but she sees an opportunity. She tells Clark to hurry back to the planet and start writing the story. She tells him not to phone it in. And as soon as he leaves, she goes to a payphone, yanks the phone receiver out of a stranger's hand, and phones in the story using the details Clark gave her, essentially meaning she'll get the byline. So she steals Clark's story, a thing we know from the pilot has been done to her, and she did not like that very much.
Bad. Shame.
So then it's the next day, and at the Daily Planet, Lucy, Lois's sister, has brought Lois her lunch, and we learned that Lois called Lucy the previous night in tears, admitting to stealing Clark's story. Lois objects to this at first, saying, it wasn't stealing, I competed for it, and I won. but eventually concedes that, yeah, she stole it. Lois then immediately justifies her actions by saying her connection with Superman drove her to doing this.
I stole it. I have never stolen a story before in my life. How could I do that? It's him. It's Superman. I mean, ever since he held me in his arms, there's something between us, Lucy. I know it. There's this connection.
Lucy's not buying it, and when she asks Lois if she's going to apologize to Clark, and Lois says, not in this millennium, Lucy has heard enough and walks out. In comes Clark. He's seen the morning edition with Lois's byline, and he seems, well, not exactly mad, at least at first. And fair enough, I say, because while she did lie to him and take his story, he did have a huge advantage over her, and face it, he always will, because no, he did not watch Superman catch that woman. But when Lois proceeds to tell him, you got what you deserved, and says that she did it for his own good, pats him on the cheek and says, consider this a life lesson, no charge, he's left speechless. A man we've never seen before arrives at the Daily Planet looking for one of their co-workers because he, so he claims, has info to give him about Superman. As soon as Lois hears keyword Superman, she pretends like the coworker asked her to talk to this guy, and she ushers him into a conference room. Clark watches and hears all this happen and gets even more annoyed with Lois's shady ways. Clark pulls Jimmy aside and asks him,
tell me something. Is Lois always so aggressive going after stories? Does the phrase Mad Dog Lane sound about right?
Jimmy goes on to tell Clark that even though that's accurate, he's never seen Lois so worked up over any story before. Jimmy says the Superman guy has really pushed her buttons. But Clark is not flattered by this at all. He says, someone ought to teach her a lesson. And Jimmy kind of laughs and says, but who, Godzilla?
Remember that.
Yeah,
that will come back.
Oh,
and also Mad Dog Lane. Mad Dog Lane comes back in season 4. I don't think they mention it again until season 4. So I'm going to have to look for that, but I don't think they do.
So Jimmy is holding some kind of appliance, and we learn he's been tasked with fixing Perry's foot massager because Perry thinks of Jimmy as Mr. Fix-It and Mr. Go Get It. These are Jimmy's words. Clark urges Jimmy to tell Perry how he feels because, you know, Jimmy wants to be a legit journalist and be taken seriously. But Jimmy just kind of brushes this advice off. Back at Lex's, we can see he's orchestrating more mischief. Turns out it's a bomb in a building. Perry at the Planet sends Clark and 2 other reporters to the Callan building to cover the bomb threat. Jimmy wants to go along as a photographer, but when Perry asks if he's fixed a foot massager yet and gets a no, Perry orders Jimmy back to that. We cut to a conference room where Lois is trying to interview the guy, Cleveland, who claimed to have some info on Superman. She's given him her sack lunch, which he's annoyingly nibbling on, but he's slow to give her any information. Finally, he tells her that Superman is in fact an alien who came from the planet Trofax. And he says he's been on the ship and has seen a bunch of freeze-dried aliens. But it's only when he lets it slip that he thinks he's former President Grover Cleveland that Lois snatches back her lunch and kicks him to the curb.
I love how she just yanks it from his mouth.
So back at the Callan building, where the bomb is, Lex is watching everything via TV, or his little security or spy system that he's got. And we all see Superman arrive and enter the building. And at that same moment, Lois pulls up in a cab, which I just want to say the timing of that doesn't make sense unless you think maybe it took Clark a really long time to change into Superman again.
Yeah.
Whatever. They're both there at the same time. Lois immediately runs right past the police tape. And as we're watching Superman go in there, Lex orders the bomb to be detonated and boom, Lois gets knocked down by the blast. But also, what the heck, Lois? Where is your sense of self-preservation? You don't. So we see she gets there and she runs right past the police tape, right? When's the last time she saw Superman? There was a bomb. What did Superman do? He ate it and she was fine. So she's probably thinking, bomb, Superman? I'll just head on in. It's going to be fine.
It's totally fine.
However, she does get a little bit of a head wound. And then Superman walks out of the building unscathed. So Lex and Asabi, who's also watching with him on the camera, are shocked. "Invulnerable," cries Asabi. Lex says, "Man of Steel." Another mark on the Superman bingo cards. So now investigators are combing through the building's remains, and Lois just comes in and walks all over everything. We see that Lois has a gash on her forehead, and Clark has arrived, or changed his clothes, and he's talking with an investigator. And Lois sees that and hurries over to them. And the investigator tells them that the blast was radio-controlled, detonated by someone within a 2-mile radius, and that there were video cameras found in the building's lobby that were not supposed to be there. And I just want to say, bomb investigations would never happen this quickly. This is definitely a TV show, but we love it. I was also noticing in this scene, while Clark's hair is not as long as it was in the pilot, it's still longer than we would like it to be. So next up, Clark is on the phone with his parents, and we see he's scrubbing at his suit, his blue suit, and telling his mom it's just not coming out.
But what do I do about this? It's not coming out.
Clark, is it a dirt stain or an oil-based stain?
I don't know, Mom. It's a bomb stain. If I can only get this out.
The important thing is blot, don't rub.
Jonathan's convinced the bombing was done on purpose, but Martha says they don't know for sure the bomb was meant for Superman. But either way, they're both worried about Clark. Clark assures them he's fine, and that the one he's really worried about is Lois because she got hit in the head during that explosion. But again, let's face it, that's less about the bomb and more about Lois being foolish enough to go past police tape, blah, blah, blah. But when you think about it, all of the onlookers in that scene were standing way too close to the buildings, so whatever.
True.
After he hangs up with his parents, Clark's landlord comes by to drop off an extra key. He initially brings the wrong one and steps out. Clark picks up a paintbrush and begins to paint the apartment and clean it, I hope, because there are still cobwebs everywhere when he starts to paint.
Exactly. I thought the same thing.
I love this part.
A minute later, Clark leaves the apartment wearing his work clothes. The landlord goes to try the key in the knob and glances into the apartment, which is now completely clean and painted. The landlord takes 2 glances, starts to cross himself, shakes his head, and leaves, never to be seen again.
I love that he paints his fridge to match the stripe on the wall. Like, who does that? It looks cool, but like, never know anybody to have done that.
It's probably just easier when he's doing it at super speed. He doesn't have to stop and go around it. He just go right through.
It's true. That makes sense.
Back at the Daily Planet, Clark is trying to get background info on the 2 building jumpers from earlier. See, he thinks it's too much of a coincidence that 2 people were doing the same act just a few miles apart at the exact same time. Lois overhears Clark on the phone and goes to listen in, pouring her leftover coffee into her potted plant, a thing she also did earlier in the episode. That poor plant.
That poor plant.
It's dead. It's dead.
It's already dead. It can't
too much
get any
caffeine.
worse. After Clark hangs up, Lois saunters over, perches on his desk, and asks him a question about the phone call, and then says, "So, what do we got?" "There is no we," replies Clark. I'm quoting directly. She gives him a look and says, "Spill it." He grins and shares his info with her. And one of the things we learn at this time, I think it's right in this scene, is that at the hospital, they talked to one of the jumpers and she kept saying something about a test. And so Lois and Clark go back and forth on, like, what do they mean, a test? Jimmy comes over saying he's thought of an idea for tracking down Superman. But before he can share it, we hear Perry yelling at him. So he has to go off. And, before he does, though, Clark gives Jimmy a knowing look because he's been trying to encourage him to talk to Perry. So Jimmy, taking a deep breath, goes to Perry's office, preparing to stand up to him at last. Perry is sitting in a chair, his feet in the massager Jimmy fixed earlier, listening to Heartbreak Hotel. Jimmy busts in, ready to let Perry have it, but instead caves and tells Perry he came to tell him he's a big Elvis fan. And we get Perry's first Elvis story. This one's about a show Perry saw him do in 1976. Clark gets printouts of the backgrounds on the jumpers, so even more info. And they're printed on that continuous printer paper with the little holes down the side.
I remember that stuff. Tearing off the sides.
Yes, and making those little like springy things
chains,
out of them.
The little chains. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Back at Luther's penthouse, we hear the sound of a landing. Superman has arrived. You want to know how strong I am, Luther? Superman picks up one of Lex's many swords and bends it into a pretzel. You want to know how fast I am? He opens a box on Lex's desk and pulls out a revolver, then aims it at Lex. Holy crap! He pulls the trigger! Out flies a bullet headed right toward Lex. Lex's eyes get very wide, but oh look, Superman catches the bullet right before it hits Lex in the chest. Superman then crushes the bullet like a marshmallow and presses it into Lex's hand. Ouch! As Superman walks away, Lex gathers his wits and says, "Does that conclude your demonstration?" Sassy man. Superman tells Lex to stop the tests now. So obviously, Clark has figured out this Lex is the one doing this. Because not only Monique saying that it was a test, he overheard that, but also when the investigator told him that there were cameras in the Carlin building that weren't supposed to be there, he put 2 and 2 together, apparently. So Lex doesn't outright admit that he's responsible for these tests, but he does tell Superman that if the tests were to continue, what's Superman going to do about it? He can't be everywhere at once. Lex says, as long as you stay in Metropolis, innocent people will die. Now, are you prepared to accept that responsibility? If I were you, I would think about it. Clark flies to Smallville to talk with his folks. His mom tries to persuade him that the bombing wasn't his fault, it was Lex Luthor's. But here's what I don't understand, you guys. Did anyone even die in the bombing? Is it kind of implied that maybe?
I don't think anybody died.
Yeah, they act like it was a really big deal. So I'm wondering if some stuff was cut out of the script, like maybe there was maybe another test we don't know, we didn't get to see, or that there were like casualties in the bombing. Because yeah, the only person that we know even got hurt at all was Lois, and it wasn't even that bad. So I don't know why he's quite freaking out so hard, but okay. Clark tells his mom, I know, but I have no proof, and I can't just throw him off a building. Stick a pin in that.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah, you could.
Clark tells his parents, I'm trapped. As long as I keep Superman alive, Luthor can make good on his threat. Well, yes, Clark, but Lex Luthor was killing people before Superman ever showed up, so okay. But Clark has lost all heart. Back at his apartment, he sadly puts his Superman suit into his old suitcase and sticks it in a closet.
Skipped over Dean's adorable little baby photos.
Oh, yeah. I felt
so
like this.
Cute.
Yes. And Martha's look as she watches him fly away, as she watches him out the window. She looks so sad.
Oh, yeah. The reflection.
Yeah. So a few days later, the Daily Planet staffers are sitting around wondering why they haven't seen or heard anything about Superman in 3 days. Jimmy says maybe whoever was after him scared him off. Lois says she refuses to believe that. Superman's not a coward. Jimmy finally tells Lois and Clark his idea from a few days ago, which is that if Superman came from outer space, he must have a ship. So maybe their next step could be tracking down the spaceship. Lois acts like this idea isn't worth pursuing, and Perry comes calling for Jimmy. His wall-mounted fish needs repairing. Jimmy goes off, and Lois goes over to her desk, picks up the phone, and asks for the number of the Epbrad tracking station. Clark realizes that Lois is pursuing Jimmy's idea. Considering what she did earlier, Clark has had it with Lois. Clark goes over to his desk, draws a map, sticks it in an envelope, and then arranges for it to be delivered to Lois's apartment tonight. Then he goes off to report on a drive-by shooting. Meanwhile, at Lex Luthor's, Lex is toasting to the fact that Superman is AWOL. Also, he apparently has a uniformless cheerleader in his bed at the moment. And I've already mentioned this, but yeah, Lex does a lot of weird things in this episode. We got the bird, the Japanese lady, the pogo stick. Earlier, there was a guy making him a bunch of suits, and we don't know why. And now the cheerleader costume.
Weird.
Clark returns to the newsroom from the story he was on, feeling depressed. He tells Lois that a 15-year-old boy was shot and is in critical condition, and that there have been multiple shootings like this in the last week, according to the police. Lois sadly says that this sounds like a job for Superman. Clark sarcastically is like, oh yeah, because that would make a great story. She says, forget the story, Clark.
Metropolis needs Superman.
Why? You think he could have stopped any of this? Or that?
No. Not even Superman can be everywhere at once.
Then what good is he?
Well, what he can't do, it doesn't matter. It's the idea of Superman. Someone to believe in. Someone to build a few hopes around. Whatever he can do, that's enough.
Clark is realizing that she's right. She concludes with, I just wish that I could tell him that. I hope it's not too late. Spoiler alert, it is not.
You just did.
So Clark goes home, gets the suit out of his closet, and proceeds to fly above Metropolis. He then sees a Daily Planet sign about to fall, and he swoops down and saves a little girl who has run under the sign to retrieve her dropped teddy bear.
Oh, Susie.
You named her?
No, her name is Susie.
Oh, it is?
Is it?
They yell Susie.
I've never picked up on that before. Funny.
Bad little Susie.
Julie, when do we see this scene again?
Ooh, it does come up again in a flashback. Well, not really kind of a flashback, but not really. In the Nazi one.
Superman.
Oh my.
Superman.
That's my favorite episode.
No.
No, it's not. It's not.
That's what I skip usually.
But it is interesting because we don't normally get flashbacks except in like montages. But also in that episode, when the Nazis pop out of a little casket or vats or whatever they're in.
It's like a coffin thing.
Yeah, it says the date is May 1993, which that puts this episode in May, which I think is cool to know. And it does check out for the rest of the first season. We can go into more of that later. But yeah, so Pilot, Neverending Battle, and Strange Visitor are probably all May 93. But this little incident, though, did remind me of something. Now, remember, I saw Neverending Battle later on. So I'd already seen something very similar to this. And I wrote, Superman saving little girls from the horrific consequences of their own foolhardy teddy bear rescues since 1993. I'm looking at you, Danielle.
Aw.
Stop going after the bears.
Don't make fun of Danielle.
Oh, no. All right, back at Lex Tower, Lex nonchalantly tells Asabi he's going to suspend his tests on Superman because he's gotten enough info. Asabi wonders how he can be so chipper, and Lex tells Asabi that it's all good because Superman is the opponent I've been waiting for. Lex adds, Superman has a defect. Ooh, a chink in his armor. Superman has morals. He has ethics. He's unrelentingly good. Because of that, I will win. So he's just super happy about this. Then he sends his bird off to kill some nice innocent pigeons. Back at the Daily Planet.
Kill some pigeons.
Oh, I know. Back at the Daily Planet, Clark is being congratulated for the story he wrote about saving the little girl. Clark says, yeah, well, I was just in the right place at the right time is all. Yeah, you were. One quote in the article, according to Jimmy, is that Superman apparently said, make no mistake, Metropolis is my home now. I am here to stay. Oh, Clark.
Direct message to Lex.
Ooh, good one.
Ooh.
Perry tells Clark, good job. And then he says to Jimmy, where the hell's my fish? Referring to the mounted fish Jimmy is supposed to be fixing. And then in walks Lois, in case you were wondering where she was at. And she is a total mess. Dirty, sore, clothes crumpled, hair mussed, limping.
Carrying her heel.
Yes.
We learn that Lois got completely lost at the Metropolis Sewage Reclamation Facility, but she did find a Godzilla toy with an S on its chest and wearing red shorts, which she is now holding. So she suspects Clark sent her that map and sent her on this nasty quest. But he admits to nothing, at least at first. She then sees the newspaper and realizes that Clark got a Superman story published while she was out and about. Consider this a life lesson, Lois, Clark tells her. No charge. Echoing back her earlier words to him. He also does his first cheek touch here. Not that it was a very sweet moment, but still, it's worth noting. Now, I'm not saying that Clark shouldn't have sent Lois that map. And to be fair, he didn't know that she'd return all covered in mosquito bites and all the. But I would think he might exhibit a little bit more concern for her well-being.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, he put forth some effort into that. Like, he went and bought a Godzilla toy and painted it and, like, dressed it, took it out there. Like, that's some effort.
Nah, that took him like 6 seconds. I mean.
Yeah, well, probably. But still.
I feel a little bit bad for her.
And I'm like, really, that map, how did she even know where it was? Did you see that map? There were no road names.
Yeah.
There was just some boxes and an arrow. Like, what? I wouldn't have found that.
I can't believe she saw this random map from who knows who and was like, yeah, I better go on this quest.
Yeah, this looks legit.
Exactly.
Jimmy is inspired by Clark's standing up to Lois, so he heads toward Perry's office. He walks in, tosses the fish in the wastebasket, says a few choice words, and leaves, slamming the door. Perry says, "Good for you, kid," and laughs. Yeah, that's a battle Jimmy's going to be fighting all season. And then new Jimmy's going to have to fight it a bit too. It's like he starts all over.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Jimmy is like Mr. Talent. Like, he can boost a car. He can break into places. He can fix like horns on golf carts. Thermostats, apparently.
He says he's poor and can't afford a good apartment. He owns both a convertible and a motorcycle. I mean,
Yeah.
this man,
He stole it.
mystery. Oh, yes.
There you go.
He boosted the
He boosted
convertible.
it. He boosted the convertible and the motorcycle.
Well, didn't he say in the pilot he was in some what was the line?
The reform school. Yeah.
Reform school. So I don't know. Maybe he got in trouble.
But still, he's a nice guy.
He is. He
learned his lesson.
A little while later, Lois approaches Clark and asks him outright, "You set me up?" He says he did. She tells him congratulations, you won, and reaches out to shake his hand. You can see that Clark's starting to feel a little bad about it all. He says, "I didn't win."
Yes, you did. You got the story, and you took me down a peg in the process. Guess I deserved that. You worked hard, and you earned your success.
Thank you, Lois. That means a lot to me.
But then she just has to add, "Cherish this moment because, Clark, you'll never experience this again." Before she walks away, he sweetly asks her what they have going on for tomorrow. She turns around and reminds him to stop using that word.
There is you, there is I, there is no we.
"Not yet," says Clark. "Not ever," she says. "We'll see." "How long can you hold your breath?" she asks. And when she walks away, he says quietly, "A very long time." And we fade out. And that's our episode. Was there anything you wanted to talk about further? Favorite moments? New things you noticed?
I was just going to say, like, Lois could have easily cleaned up before coming back to, like, her desk. She never even had to admit that she went or, like, fell for it or anything. Like, doesn't she say in the pilot that she always has a change of clothes at work?
True.
She could have just changed or went home, took a shower, because clearly she was very stinky. So I probably would have done that. Exactly. Save some face. But no, she went back all dirty.
I think she
and
suspected
humbled
that it was Clark, and she knew he's such a nice guy. She wanted him to see what he did to her. That's what I think.
That could be. Yeah, that could be.
That's true.
Like, "I thought you were nice."
Now that, the show's in HD, I did notice you can see all the little fake mosquito bites all over her. Never noticed that before. Thought that was funny.
All right. I would like to talk about Lex's tests. So to be fair, Lex only had a day or two to put them together. So, how elaborate could they really be? But even so, they just seem kind of sad to me. So, there's the one with the 2 jumpers, and Lex used that to time Superman's speed as he flew between locations. So, great. Get that data. But the Carlin building bombing, I was thinking about it making less sense because, okay, remember, Superman's already dealt with a bomb that Lex was responsible for, the one on the space shuttle. So Lex should already know that Superman can handle bombs. Anyway, I was thinking this over,
Sure.
and I wonder if, with all the frenzy that happened surrounding the space shuttle launch and Superman showing up and boosting that thing into space, maybe when Lois wrote the article about all that, she forgot to even mention Superman swallowing the bomb. And maybe Lex thought that it just didn't detonate or was faulty or something. Also, you could argue that he just wanted to see Superman deal with a bomb for himself, but he looks so stunned when Superman walks out of that building unscathed. And it's like, why? I just get this weirdest feeling.
That's true.
Like he didn't believe it. Like he didn't believe that Superman swallowed a bomb.
Yeah.
Maybe he just had to see it for himself, like with a camera on him, because there probably weren't cameras on the space shuttle.
Yeah, nobody saw that except for like a few people. Yeah.
Like he's just trusting what he's reading. If that was reported in the article, maybe he's like, I need to see it with my own eyes. That's my theory.
I also think Lex probably had a beef with the Carlin building or somebody who owned it and wanted to blow it up anyway, get 2 or 3 things done for one or whatever. That's just how we know he operates anyway. But my conclusion is I would have liked a more interesting test, something besides a thing that he probably already should have known. Like maybe drop a load of bricks on Superman's head or, something.
Looney Tunes all of a sudden.
Love it.
But we got to keep this to 46.7 minutes. I get it. When planning this podcast, we decided on a number of things we each wanted to focus on every episode. First up, it's Jen with our fashion corner.
All right. So I kind of sorted them out by characters this time because they're all kind of getting into what they're going to be presenting for the rest of the season. So I started with Kat. We begin by seeing her in a tight black, red, and yellow dress with no sleeves and dangly earrings and a bright red lip. And for me, I kind of liked this look. It was kind of like just what we're going to be seeing for the rest of her time on the show. We also see her in like a skin tight leopard dress, which I feel like we see her in a lot of that kind of stuff. We see a tight red pleather vest with buttons and a mini skirt. And I wrote down, wow, Kat is wearing a yellow and black chicken suit.
What?
It's okay. So it's just a super flowy, frilly blouse with a black pleather vest. I don't know what this look is called. It's almost like a Victorian ruffle look. Did you notice where it's got the Renaissance like steampunk thing, but it's yellow? I don't know what this shirt is called, but like a poet blouse or something. Was this in? Did people wear this back then? I don't remember this.
I don't think anyone was wearing what Kat was wearing back then.
No.
They gave her her own.
She really had her own look, but I don't know. I mean, I remember not being a fan of like her look, but also it gave character, and so I appreciate it. I think it works for the character. I don't know what you guys think about Kat's whole entire look, but yeah.
It's something.
It's something. For Jimmy, we are now moving away from the sweater vests, and like this episode, he's wearing unbuttoned button-up shirts with a t-shirt underneath. I thought this was a very good look for him, but it's also super casual, and I don't know what the Planet dress code is. Obviously, they don't have one because of Kat, but it's a good look for him. And then in one scene, he buttoned up his button-up shirt with a pink t-shirt underneath, which I thought was kind of cool. Seeing a guy wearing pink, I like it.
He's adorable.
And yeah, And the unbuttoned button-up shirts are big in this episode. And I don't remember how his fashion changes, but I'm okay if they stick with this look. And he was also in one scene wearing like a fishing vest over a denim button-up shirt and khakis, and he had his big old camera hanging around his neck, which is massive. That to me is Jimmy Olsen. For Perry, he's mostly just in his gray businessy vests. I mean, we don't really see him in anything else. Lex, we see him in a silk robe when he's with Asabi and the two women with the silk polka dot dresses. He's wearing, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but he's wearing a ring on his left hand. Is that a wedding band? But in later scenes, I noticed the ring on his right hand. So if we think forward to, season 4? Season 3? I don't know the seasons, but we find out some things. So just mental note, it looks like he's wearing possibly. He also wears suspenders, which is a good look for him. It's like he's not in a suit, but he's got the suspender look going on. Moving on to Lois. We see her in a navy suit. I liked this suit with the little oval navy earrings. Do you guys know the one I'm talking about? The first one we see her in this episode.
Yep.
Classic. She also wears like a black or dark colored blazer with a white collar and a long floral flowy skirt and a strappy heel. I loved this look. I thought it was so cute. I want that dress. So, and then we see her in a lot of blazers with a blouse underneath with a skirt. I thought all of the looks were good. We also see Lucy wearing one of Lois's gray suits, which looked super cute. But it just shows like this is Lois's attire. She's got the suits. She's got the skirts and the little blouses that we all know are the Lois look. Moving on to Clark. He started off the episode in a very light tan suit. I don't know about you guys. Not a big fan. Really obnoxious tie. Dark. The tie was dark with gold, orange, and blue diamonds. The ties in this episode, oh my gosh. He's got a weird black tie with gold and green ovals, a red tie with ovals and diamonds, a maroon tie with random yellow and blue diamonds all up and down, and a maroon tie with gold 3D looking boxes. I don't know.
But I'm hearing a lot of
ties are starting.
Blue, yellow, and maroon. Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
It's like a theme. And, if I were him, maybe I would choose differently. I'm trying to keep the two apart, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Clark is wearing shorts when he's putting his suit back in his suitcase into the closet, and I put a little heart next to I do remember, I guess, kind of enjoying that scene because it's a good look. It's a good look. And guys, it's the start of the muscle shirts. What?
Oh, yeah.
What are your opinion on muscle shirts? And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, these are shirts with a slightly tailored fit and cut off sleeves where it kind of flares out at the top of the shoulder where the hem would be. And I looked this up online, and according to Google, these are made to accentuate the physique, ideally by highlighting the chest, shoulders, and arms while still providing enough comfort for movement. What are your opinions on Clark in the muscle tees?
I think he's the only person I've ever seen that can pull it off.
Yes.
And he owns the look. Anyone else tries it, I will laugh at them.
Very nice. Very nice.
Julie approves.
Now, I do remember having mixed feelings. I appreciate what he's showing off. I think they could have done it maybe with a tank top.
He looks good in t-shirts
I don't know.
too.
Or you just nothing.
Yeah.
Just take the shirt off. You don't need the shirt.
Amen. Absolutely. But like Molly said, even just a t-shirt, like he can pull off any look. And don't get me wrong, he looked good in this shirt. I thought it looked a little raggedy. I don't know, but I have mixed feelings on it even to this day. But now they have them for women, and I'm not into.
No, absolutely not. Nope.
Like
No.
you do not need to bring back the muscle shirt. I'm sorry. Okay, and last but not least, I have to bring up the suit. Awful.
Ugh.
The shoulder pads, the low neckline. Why would they do that?
And the huge S, like it takes up his whole chest.
Absolutely.
That is a terrible look.
Molly, are you a fan of this?
No, but I think there was a line when he's talking to his parents about him saying like he says we're getting there with the suits. So we know that even though this may be a little bit meh, they're going to keep trying until they get it right.
They better.
That's definitely not a good one. That one can just be burned.
Exactly. I did notice one other thing. When he's cleaning the suit after the explosion and he's on the phone with his parents, you can see the zipper in the back.
Yes.
So how does he zip himself up? I'm sorry, you can be the strongest guy, but I can't reach back there. In my experience, you need another person.
He's very flexible.
Yeah. So in all the years I've been watching the show, they never address his flexibility as a superpower. So I'm bringing it up now, and I'm just throwing it out into the universe.
It's the whole thing where if he vibrates, he can go through like windows and stuff. He bends a certain way, he can reach way back.
Okay. Case closed. Now we have an answer. Is there anything else that you guys noticed fashion-wise in this episode that I did not bring up?
I think just that I've noticed the last couple episodes, Lex wears a lot of ascots. And I'm guessing that maybe just kind of a throwback to like the Superman movies where Gene Hackman used to do that.
Interesting. Yeah, good point. Very good.
Julie, were there any major changes between the script for this episode and the final product?
There actually were a few changes from the script that I noticed once I read it. The main change that I noticed was with Clark's demonstration to Lex. In that scene, it's a bit different than what was shot. Instead of bending the sword to show his strength, he grabs a large diamond from Lex's desk and crushes it into dust, which I thought was kind of weird. Instead of shooting him and grabbing the bullet, he just runs over to him really fast, which is kind of lame. So I'm glad they changed that.
Yeah.
And to show his invulnerability, he grabs the sword and like plunges it into his chest and it crumbles. So I think what they did on the show was a lot better than what they did in the script because some of those were kind of lame. Another, just a tiny one that I thought was funny, when Lois kind of like falls into Clark's apartment when he's touring it. She looks around in embarrassment, realizing, Superman's not there. And then he goes, "You're in my apartment." And her response was, "What a dump," and then walks out. I was like, "Ooh, that's a bit harsh."
Not wrong,
but not wrong because it was kind of a dump.
It was.
And then one other thing I noticed, after the scene when Clark confides in his parents that he believes Luthor is involved in everything, he flies away, and Jonathan kicks in his TV and says, "I only wish that was Lex Luthor's face." Then they show a close-up to show the TV brand, which is Lex Trans Telecom. So Jonathan has
new TV.
Anger issues.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who would have thought Jonathan Kent? He's so nice.
I know. And to just ruin their TV.
What you said, Julie, made me think of something else from the episode. We talked in the pilot about how we did not think it was a very good idea for Clark to go to Lex's house and basically call him out as his enemy. Well, here in this episode, he goes to Lex's house again and tells him, basically gives him information about himself. Look, here's how strong I am. Look, here, I can catch a bullet and smush it. Here's some free information for you, Lex Luthor. No, you stop that. Like, Clark.
No.
Face palm here. Someday, Clark is going to write a book on how to be a superhero for his future grandchildren. And chapter 1 is going to be like, after you make the suit, after you debut, get your name, get whatever. Number 1, don't go to your enemy's house and announce yourself. Number 2, don't give your enemy free info. This guy, I tell you.
It wasn't the smartest move. Although, if he hadn't done that, would Lex have kept trying to find out all the things that he could do with bad scenarios? I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't know.
Yeah, but I also really like how he shot Lex. That was pretty badass.
Yeah, that was good TV.
One of the special features I'll be doing, at least throughout most of season 1, is a little thing I like to call, what the hell was Lex talking about this week? Lex brought up Sun Tzu's The Art of War. As I'm sure you know, it's an ancient Chinese text thought to have been written by Sun Tzu, a military general around the 5th century BC. The work has been very important in Chinese culture ever since it was written, and eventually it spread to the rest of the world. And this episode was, as I remember it, my first time hearing about The Art of War. But since then, I've heard it mentioned on a bunch of movies and shows. Smallville, Star Trek, The Next Generation. It's also mentioned in the movie Wall Street and the James Bond movie Die Another Day. And Lex paraphrases Sun Tzu's philosophy as follows. He says, the philosophy is knowledge precedes victory, ignorance precedes defeat. And that's what Lex was talking about this week. Jen, our companion of the animals, were there any furry, scaly, or feathered friends in this episode?
There were. I counted the 3 pigeons that met their unfortunate demise, and 1 hawk or falcon. I'm not sure what, I don't know birds. And then later on in the episode, we again see the hawk or falcon in Lex's office named Faust when he says, let's kill some pigeons. So, final count, 4 birds, no dogs. Womp womp.
No doggies. It was definitely a falcon when it was flying, but when it was on the perch, it was a hawk. So I'm not really sure which one it's supposed to be because they used both.
Do we think that they're the same bird? Does he have multiple birds?
Supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be the same bird. But they just used a falcon for the flying shot.
Okay.
So I'm assuming it's supposed to be a hawk.
I tried Googling it. They look very similar.
They are very similar.
It looked a lot like a falcon, but...
Well, if we have any bird experts out there, let us know. Come to our social media and let us know either in a message or comment, whatever. We are curious.
Comments, please.
And I think that Faust is only ever seen in this episode.
I don't recall seeing him again.
Julie, what's the scoop on filming locations and props in this episode?
Again, they don't go off-lot very often in the show, so this episode didn't have much location-wise, except for the jumper on the ledge scenes. You can see the Ernst & Young building in the background, which is in downtown LA. And then when Superman grabs Jules to take him off the ledge, the street below is the corner of Flowers Street and West 8th Street. So if you ever want to go see that really boring building, it's right there and it looks the same.
Bucket list.
Yeah, bucket list. Go see that corner. Prop wise, I sadly don't own any props from this episode, but there are definitely a few that I would want to own. Definitely the Godzilla is high on my list. I highly doubt it still survived somewhere, but that would be pretty cool.
I bet that pogo stick's still out there somewhere.
The pogo stick. So yes, I would definitely want the Godzilla. Probably the map that Clark drew would be kind of cool. Or even the little framed pictures of Dean because they're so adorable. I wonder if they were just like, bring in some photos. And he was like, which ones? Which do I choose?
Yeah, why didn't we ever get to see Lois as a little girl? That would have been cool.
That's true.
We see her like high school, but...
Yeah, high school picture. That's about it, I think.
One of my jobs is to talk about any real-life people, pop culture icons, or events that were name-dropped in this episode. And we just mentioned Faust, the name of the bird, and that was a legendary figure in German folklore and literature, and that's all I know about that. And of course, I already mentioned Sun Tzu and The Art of War, but in addition to him, we got a mention of former U.S. President Grover Cleveland, born in 1837, died in 1908. The building that gets blown up is the Callan building, and that name's a reference to Mike Callan, DC Comics legend. He also got referenced in the pilot as Perry wants to order from Carlini's, and I'm fairly certain there are more references to come. Jimmy made a reference to Godzilla, and Clark used a Godzilla-like toy in his prank on Lois. Surprising to me was that Godzilla's only been around since 1954. I always sort of lump him in with King Kong, but King Kong's a few decades older. We got an allusion to the 1992 movie White Men Can't Jump, and We got our very first solid mention of Elvis Presley. Yes, Perry did say great shades of Elvis in the pilot, but in this episode, we get a photo of Elvis, music, Heartbreak Hotel, even a story of Perry's attending one of the King's final concerts in 1976, which he says was the greatest experience of my life. Did I miss any that you know of?
The Callan building, what I had caught was that it was at 3rd and Ordway. Ordway, I am assuming, refers to Jerry Ordway, who was also like a comic book person, a writer, penciler, inker, pretty much did everything. I know he did, he also co-wrote like Panic in the Sky and The Death of Superman. So I'm assuming, they were throwing out a whole lot of names in this episode. And then Monique's last name was Kahn. I'm assuming Jeanette Kahn. I think she even named DC. I think she changed the name from what I remember. It's been a while since I've looked any of this stuff up. But I think when she started, it wasn't called DC and she changed it to DC Comics.
Nice.
If I'm wrong, somebody please comment, but I'm pretty sure that's correct.
Yeah, most of the first season, they love to put the little Easter eggs in there.
If this is a gag, you're dead. I made a mistake. It won't happen again.
Julie, did you notice any goofs or bloopers in this episode?
Actually, I noticed quite a few in this episode. Most noticeably, to me at least, was Kat's beauty mark was missing for the entire episode. Did you guys notice that? Like her little beauty mark that's like above her lip, it was not there for the entire episode.
So it's
Wow.
fake.
It's fake. Exactly.
Shocked.
She just decided to not have it for this episode. Second was the Hawk Falcon issue, which I already mentioned. And then the map that Clark drew is not the same map that Lois is holding when it's all dirty in her hand. It's a very small difference. The one she's holding, Superman's spaceship, is all capitalized. Clark did not write it that way, so not really sure why they didn't use the same map and just crumple it up and like throw some dirt on it. But somebody made 2 maps.
Wow.
The shoulder pad suit kept going back and forth in the scenes. That was driving me crazy. You can see the flying harness on Superman's briefs when he saves Monique. You'll probably have to watch that in slow-mo. It's very, very brief. When he flies across, you can see it.
Julie, how did you notice that one?
5,000 times I've seen this episode.
I'm just wondering, like, what are you
Probably.
looking what are you looking at,
I
Julie?
look for everything. Everything. I see so much on HD. I'm telling you, I really do. When Clark puts his suit in the suitcase, he only has one suit, was kind of my question on that. Like, one suit is all he put in his suitcase. And it's not the same suitcase he had in the pilot because it didn't have the CK on the front, which was kind of sad. Like, what happened to that suitcase? That suitcase was cool. That's on my prop watch. I want the CK suitcase.
Ooh.
That would be
That would be a
cool.
good one to have.
And that's about it, really. The plaques behind Perry's desk moved, but I mean, obviously they had to put Elvis there for this episode. So, I realize why that happened. But I also noticed that Kay and Eddie were on different phones than usual.
Oh.
Kay's usually on like the cordless. She wasn't on it this one. They flipped. So
Ooh.
I wonder how many times that happens. That's about it.
Jen, what is your vote? If I'm not sure we have one, but Jen, what's your vote for the wildest excuse Clark makes in this episode?
So there really wasn't anything. There was one thing that Clark mentioned, his excuse to Perry, Lois, and Jimmy after nailing the story of the billboard falling on top of the little girl and her teddy bear. He says, I was just in the right place at the right time. I guess that's an excuse. That's the only one that I could really kind of point out. So that was what I'm just taking it because it's by
Works for me.
default. Yeah.
That's interesting how this early in the season he hasn't had the need to like lie too much, but we'll get there.
Oh yeah,
we'll get there.
There'll be some good ones. There'll be some good ones.
Some very good ones. I can't wait.
So now we come to the end of our episode discussion. On a scale of A+ to F-, what grade would you give this episode, Julie?
I feel terrible giving my rating for this episode. But I'm gonna give it a C+. It's not a bad episode at all, so that's probably very harsh. But it's not one I go back to ever. So I went a little low this time. I think I rated it so low because I want to see a sweeter Lois and Clark. Like, Lois is mean in this episode. It's not sweet at all when they're together. And it's too much Superman for me. I want the Lois and Clark scenes.
Yes.
So, and the shoulder pad cape, that brought it way down because that drove me crazy. Horrible. So it's so bad.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, C+. Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
well,
harsh.
I was afraid for the exact same reason as you. I wrote it was between a B- and a C+, but I went with a B-. It was a good episode. We're still building that foundation, which is so important to this show. The rivalry between Lois and Clark is good. I like how he gets his apartment, but there wasn't really anything super stand out in this episode other than Lex versus Superman. And remember, I watch for Lois and Clark relationship stuff. So we're still building the fundamental storylines. So I get why they're doing what they're doing. Is it one that ranks up there for me? No. Did I enjoy it? Yes. I give it a B-.
This is funny. We're all on the same page. Actually, I also gave it a C+.
Wow.
Wow. I thought I was going
Wow.
to be way off.
No.
It's not one that I avoid, but it's just middle of the road, very average for me. And like Jen said, there's a lot of good stuff that we need at the beginning of a superhero series. We need the hero to have doubts. We need to have some conflict where he's, should I do this? Should I not? But other than that, like, what is this episode? So yeah. So
wow.
That's how I feel. Yeah, it's average. I think that's where I'm at. C+. Thanks to everyone for joining us today. Please be sure to subscribe to this podcast on the platform of your choosing. And if you're feeling extra generous, leave us a review. If you're planning to watch the show alongside us, the next episode we'll be covering is Strange Visitor. On the DVDs and on streaming, that'll show up as episode 2. But of course, as you already heard earlier, it's the next episode, episode 3, chronologically. So check it out, and we'll see you next time.
Wait a minute. How do I find you?
You can find us on Instagram or Blue Sky as Folks Forever. That's FOLCSFOREVER. Or you can visit our website at folksforeverpod.wixsite.com/podcast. And until next time, please enjoy this amazing little ditty.
Scheming wild and mean, city upside down, chasing his dream machine, tossing people from towers so high, watching if Superman can own the sky. Bombs ticking fast, he's lighting the fuse, testing the cape, does he win or lose? Bullets fly, steel won't break, Superman's here, the earth won't shake. It's Man of Steel showtime, lights go flash, Lex sets the stage, hopes for a crash, but nothing's faster, nothing's that strong. Superman's proven to feel it all wrong. Lois running bold with a pen in hand, chasing the truth from sky to land, determined to write that untold tale, expose Lex's game, no time to fail. She's dodging the chaos, weaving through fire, trying to get to the man who'll inspire. Exclusive words from the one who saves, facing fear yet never a slave. It's Man of Steel showtime, lights go flash, Lex sets the stage, hopes for a crash, but nothing's faster, nothing's that strong. Superman's proven to feel it all wrong. Steel's showtime. Lights go flash. Let's set the stage, hopes for a crash, but nothing's faster, nothing's that strong. Superman's proving the villain ain't all wrong.